Take a nice, deep breath. It feels good, doesn't it? Well, don't worry. If we're going by averages, you still have 21,999 breaths left for the rest of the day. Seems like a huge number, doesn't it? What may come as even more of a surprise is that the air we breathe is actually 78% nitrogen. Oxygen only makes up for just under 21% of what's floating around us. However, this seemingly small fraction of oxygen plays an indispensable role, not just for the human race, but for the whole world around us. But what if it just disappeared one day? Well, that's obvious. We would stop breathing and you know the rest. More specifically though, what if it disappeared for just 5 seconds? The answer is not as straightforward as you may think. While it's true that we would immediately lose consciousness and our bodies would start to react to the sudden lack of oxygen, the effects of a 5-second disappearance of oxygen would extend beyond just a momentary blackout. Our brains, which are highly sensitive to changes in oxygen levels, would be the first to be affected. Even after oxygen returns, it would take time for our brains to fully recover, potentially resulting in memory lapses and disorientation. In those brief 5 seconds without oxygen, our bodies would be pushed to the brink. The vital oxygen-dependent processes within our cells, responsible for producing the energy we need to function, would come to a screeching halt. Imagine your body's power plant shutting down. The lights go out, everything goes quiet. The problems don't just stop inside the body, though. Let's break it down a bit. You see, our Earth has this fantastic protective shield called the atmosphere, made up of different gases, including oxygen. This shield shields us from the sun's harmful rays, especially those nasty UV rays that can harm our bodies. UV rays, like UVB and UVA, are known to cause skin damage and other health issues. Normally, our atmosphere acts like a natural sunscreen, blocking and scattering these harmful rays. But if oxygen suddenly disappeared for 5 seconds, that shield would vanish. During those 5 seconds without oxygen, intense UV radiation would hit our skin and eyes. Sunburn? Yep, that happened in a flash, possibly leading to severe burns. Prolonged exposure could even increase the risk of skin cancer down the road. And our sensitive eyes, they'd be in for some trouble too, with temporary vision problems and discomfort. On top of all this, our eardrums would also be in for a rough ride. You see, our ears rely on a delicate balance of air pressure inside and outside to function properly. The middle ear, in particular, needs a stable environment to transmit sound vibrations to our inner ear, and eventually to our brain, where we perceive sound. When oxygen suddenly vanishes, the air pressure around us drops, and that includes the pressure inside our ears. Our eardrums, accustomed to the equilibrium of pressure, would experience a sudden imbalance. This could lead to discomfort, and in some cases, severe pain, as the eardrums struggle to adapt to the rapid changes. If this pressure difference becomes too extreme, there's a risk of the eardrums bursting. It's a painful experience, often described as feeling like an intense pop or bang in the ears. This could result in temporary hearing loss, ear infections, and even damage to the delicate structures within the ear. These issues sound bad enough, but we haven't even gotten started with what would happen to the outside world. Picture this. In those fleeting 5 seconds without oxygen, the world around us would experience an eerie silence. Combustion engines in vehicles, factories, and power plants would sputter and cough as they struggle to operate without their vital oxygen supply. Fires, whether from a candle flame or a roaring bonfire, would momentarily extinguish, leaving behind a trail of smoldering embers. Buildings, while not directly dependent on oxygen for structural integrity, would still face repercussions. Heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, or HVAC systems, crucial for maintaining comfortable indoor environments, would falter. The lack of oxygen would disrupt the combustion process in furnaces and boilers, potentially causing heating systems to shut down. Furthermore, many modern buildings use oxygen sensors as part of their safety and fire detection systems. In those 5 seconds without oxygen, these sensors would trigger fire alarms, leading to confusion and unnecessary evacuations. The absence of oxygen could also interfere with the operation of certain industrial equipment within buildings, affecting various manufacturing processes. Moreover, emergency services and first responders who rely on oxygen-powered equipment like oxygen masks and tanks would find themselves temporarily incapacitated. In critical situations, this could pose significant challenges and delays in providing aid. Our buildings and structures would also indeed face a dire threat. You see, oxygen plays a crucial role as a binding agent for certain construction materials, particularly in the production of concrete. Concrete relies on oxygen to undergo a chemical process called oxidation, which strengthens and hardens the material over time. Without oxygen, this chemical reaction would be interrupted, leaving concrete in a vulnerable state. Over time, this could lead to a weakening of concrete structures, potentially resulting in structural damage or compromise. So, in that brief moment, even the very buildings that surround us would be at risk, reminding us of the intricate connection between oxygen and the infrastructure of our modern world. Not only would concrete structures be threatened, but other materials used in construction, such as metals, would also face significant challenges. Oxygen isn't just an essential component for our bodies, it's also a key player in various chemical reactions, including the oxidation of metals. Metals like iron and steel rely on oxygen to form a protective layer known as rust. This layer acts as a barrier against further corrosion, helping to preserve the structural integrity of metal components. However, when oxygen disappears, this protective process grinds to a halt. All iron-based metals would become susceptible to corrosion at an accelerated rate. In a matter of seconds, they could begin to deteriorate. Moreover, in the absence of oxygen, the potential for metals to fuse together through a process called cold welding increases. Cold welding is a fascinating phenomenon that occurs when two exceptionally clean metal surfaces come into direct contact in the absence of oxygen or any other gas that can react with the metal. In a world with no oxygen, this condition would be met. When these clean metal surfaces touch, the atoms on the surface of one piece effectively bond with the atoms on the surface of the other piece, creating a strong molecular bond. This bonding process happens almost instantaneously, given the right conditions. Cold welding can be particularly relevant in space environments, where there is no atmosphere and therefore no oxygen. In our scenario, metals in close contact within mechanical systems and structures would be at risk of cold welding. This could lead to the binding or fusing together of metal components, potentially compromising the functionality and safety of various devices and structures. It's a striking example of how the absence of oxygen can have unexpected and significant consequences in the world of materials and engineering. So in a nutshell, the Earth as a whole would be in a pretty bad place if our lovely life gas was snatched from us for even such a small amount of time. Not only would we be out of breath, burned, and blind, but pretty much the whole infrastructure that supports us would be in pieces. We would be unable to get to the hospital to treat these newfound injuries, and even so, every doctor, nurse, and paramedic would be in exactly the same position as you. The absence of oxygen for such a short period of time would highlight the intricate and often underappreciated role that this life-giving gas plays in our daily lives. It serves as a reminder of our dependence on the delicate balance of our environment and the countless processes that make our world function seamlessly. So, the next time you take a deep breath and savor the oxygen that surrounds you, remember just how vital it is to our existence and the world we inhabit. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to make sure you never miss another video like this one. See you in the next one.